What sort of a tale have we fallen into? Does anybody who maybe heard me say this at last night's Mass know where that's from? Lord of the Rings, that's right. Samwise Gamgee says this. Sorry, there's a lot of singing last night. I'm recovering my voice. It's a very perceptive question. What sort of tale have we fallen into? The sense that the events that they're caught up in are much more than they appear. In a sense that there's deep meaning and significance to the story that they are experiencing, the story that they're a part of. It's a great analogy for us and for our lives, because there's so much of our life that is experienced as story. It comes to us in sort of chapters and sections, and some of it is rather disorienting. Some of it is sort of scattered, and it's hard to sort of find the thread, the plot, the context that unites it all together. You can imagine any of you who've seen The Lord of the Rings showing up to the movie theater to watch it and showing up 40 minutes late. You've missed all the sort of development, the introduction of characters. There's this rough idea that something significant is happening, but no idea what, no idea who these people are and what unites them, what the purpose is. And for many points in our life, especially big moments of transition or moments of decision, we can experience this kind of disorientation, sort of just grasping, trying to make meaning or find the things that sort of pull it all together. Life sometimes feels like a tragedy, sometimes like a romance, sometimes like a comedy, maybe most of the time sort of like a soap opera. And we sort of trudge along and try and find our way forward. But there's something missing. There's something that's so needed to kind of unite and bring all of this together. These days of this Holy Week, the Triduum, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter Vigil last night, are the retelling of the story of salvation. The great story of God's relationship with his people. That he created us for relationship with him. He created us good. That relationship was lost. It was lost through rejection of him, lost through sin, through choosing our own way. And so we left the Garden of Eden. But the story continues. God is this relentless lover who pursues us. Again and again, he makes a covenant with his people. A covenant with Abraham, a covenant with Moses, and with subsequent generations. He sends prophets again and again, seeking this people that have lost their way and lost that relationship with him. And especially in these days, we remember the great story of Jesus. Jesus, who, Son of the Father, was sent into the world to draw us into sonship with the Father, to be brothers and sisters with the Lord. Through his passion, death, and resurrection, he makes this new life available to us. And it's so fitting in these days, as we do, to celebrate baptisms. We had several new members enter the parish last night, and making this sort of claiming this story as their own. That this great story of God's relationship with his people is not just sort of this big, objective, kind of cosmic story. It's my story. And it's your story. And in claiming our identity as Christians, in choosing to believe and to accept what God has done for us, we are making this story our own once again. Later on in the Mass, we'll renew our baptismal promises. We'll say, I do believe. I do choose this for myself and desire to live in this new life that Jesus makes available. This is the part of the story where we find ourselves. With this relentless lover having pursued us and our kind of striving to find ourselves and find each day in a place in this larger story. A place in his story of his pursuit of me. So today in particular we remember the resurrection. Jesus dying on the cross and 3 days later rising to new life. Let me ask you, what comes to mind when you think of Easter, when you think of the resurrection? What are some of the images, the thoughts, the memories that come to mind? And yes, this is interactive, so feel free to respond. What comes to mind? What do you think of? What does the resurrection mean to you?
A new life.
New life. Coming up from the dead. Very good. What else? What does Easter mean? Saving grace and completion. It is accomplished. Very good. What else? What brings you here today? Why are we here? Why are we gathered in this way? Hope. We come for hope, to sort of claim hope for ourselves, that this is true and that this means something, and means something different. Way in the back, shout it out. Salvation? Celebration. Very good. Celebration. It's a moment of joy. Kind of claiming this joy that something is different, something has changed, and we have a reason to be joyful. There's so much joy throughout the liturgy. This word, alleluia, that we haven't been saying throughout Lent, we sort of say with great enthusiasm, a great exclamation of joy. Alleluia, he is risen. We have reason to hope. We have reason for joy. There's a new life that is available. There's two thoughts that stand out to me, reflecting on what the resurrection means and what Easter means. One is, this world is not all that there is. Jesus, in suffering the most humiliating kind of death, Jesus, who is equal with God, he is God, became man, and then died a humiliating death on the cross. He kind of takes the lowest possible position. And that's not the end of the story. The worst that the world can do is not the end of the story. Even that he redeems and brings about into new life. And this is a message of great hope for us. That in our lives, no matter what we've experienced, no matter where we find ourselves, no matter our struggles, we have hope. Jesus can bring new life and is bringing new life precisely in these places where we feel low, where we feel discouraged or even hopeless. Jesus is a reason to hope, because this world, the way we see it, all that we can see is not all that there is. There's so much more. We have a reason to hope, a reason to be joyful in the Lord. There was a second point, but I forget it. So maybe that's where we'll end today. So let us, as we celebrate the great joy, the great hope of the resurrection, as we, in a few minutes, or right now, will be renewing our baptismal promises, let us claim this joy and this hope for ourselves. And let us, as we think about the experiences of our life and where we find ourselves in the present moment, unite this with the Lord and say, yes, Jesus, I do desire something different. I do desire this different life that you make available to me.